Cameron Smith, the winner of the 2022 Open Championship and former PGA star, was one of the golfers who switched from PGA to the LIV Golf. Smith, who earned a major exemption for the next 5 years after winning the British Open in July, revealed he had a conversation with Rory McIlroy, who convinced him to stay at the PGA. So what do you think the current world #1 told Smith, and what was his reaction after Smith joined the LIV Golf? Also, why did Cameron Smith eventually defect to LIV Golf? Welcome to Golf Links, and keep watching to get full details. With victories in the Open Championship and Players Championship only this year, 29-year-old Cameron Smith has emerged as one of the rising stars of the 2022 PGA Tour. In 2022, he won 3 games in total, so when Smith joined the Greg Norman Breakaway League, it hurt the PGA Tour's standing, and Smith is possibly LIV's most crucial signing yet. He enters the new circuit as the reigning winner of the Open and the Players, 2 of the year's top 5 stroke play competitions, even though PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan suspended all LIV golfers from the tour. Smith insisted he has not resigned from the tour. The same will apply to the remaining defectors, including Leishman, Joaquin Niemann, Harold Varner III, Cameron Tringale, and Anir Ben Lahiri. Before Smith won his first major championship at St. Andrews, he said he had been in contact with LIV Golf over the previous few months. He met with Monahan and talked with a few tour players, including Rory McIlroy, to discuss his choice. However, Smith chose LIV Golf. So why did Rory McIlroy call him, and what did they talk about? 2 days after falling short to Cameron Smith in the 150th Open Championship, Rory McIlroy made a call he did not want to make. In the final round of the Open at St. Andrews, Smith started the day 4 strokes behind Rory McIlroy and Viktor Hovland of Norway. However, he played an outstanding back 9 to win. After congratulating Smith on winning the Claret Jug over the phone, Rory went over why he should continue playing on the PGA Tour. Of course, Smith disregarded McIlroy's advice and accepted a rumored 9-figure contract with LIV Golf, making his debut at LIV Boston immediately following the Tour Championship. The Australian has now admitted that McIlroy, arguably LIV's most vocal opponent, called him before deciding to leave the PGA. Smith told the Sydney Morning Herald, quote, "I've always respected Rory and appreciated what he says on the golf field. Congratulations," he said. He was pleased with the tournament and how well I performed. Following that, we discussed LIV and the PGA Tour. He wanted me to know many things before I made the choice. He didn't specifically try to persuade me to stay, but it was clear that he wanted me to stay, end quote. It's worth noting that Rory McIlroy gave his take on the call. In a statement to the media, McIlroy said the phone call was more of a factual presentation than a plea. He said he didn't care if players quit the PGA Tour. However, a recount of the conversation aligns with what McIlroy stated at the Tour Championship in August. Quote, "I wanted to congratulate him. Guys who are thinking one way or the other, honestly, I don't care if they leave or not. It won't make a difference to me, but I would like people to make an educated decision and essentially know what's coming down the pipeline. You could be leaving this behind. I just don't want individuals making decisions to hear information from one side without hearing the other," end quote. Thus, that has been my focus the entire time. I've always maintained that guys can do anything they desire. The guys can choose what they believe is best for their families and themselves, but I want guys to base their decisions on all the data. I don't believe players made any decisions with all the information in front of them. It is reasonable to conclude that Smith didn't decide to continue on tour despite McIlroy's facts. While the LIV PGA war has splintered the golf community, it has forced the PGA Tour to improve the prize purse and other benefits it offers golfers. It was reported that there will be 12 tournaments on the PGA Tour in 2023, with average prizes of $20 million. There will also be a possibility to compete in the TGL, administered by a business owned by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. TGL is essentially broadcast screen golf in a setting where participants can make some cash in conjunction with a PGA Tour affiliated tournament. In the past, this was not the case, so the Saudi-backed LIV Golf severely threatens the PGA Tour's monopoly. So why do you think Smith joined LIV Golf? Was the money the only motivating factor? Speaking to the media at the International outside of Boston, the location of the 4th LIV tournament, Smith explained why he chose to join the rival league and he thinks it's the future of golf. He also noted that the league's condensed schedule would allow him to visit his native Australia more frequently. A day after Smith's long-rumored choice was made public, he expressed excitement at being there during his joint press conference with Mark Leishman. "The future of golf is here. I like how it looks out here. The music is a little more laid back on the range. That's my kind of stuff. I'm very excited to take part in this. Quote, this was the correct option for me," end quote, he said. "This is the golf of the future. It has been the same for a long time and needs to be shaken up." The possibility of spending a few months a year in Australia also played a role in Smith's choice. Even though Smith relocated to the United States in 2015 to pursue tour goals, his family has continued to live there. Since the season should end in the autumn due to the compressed league schedule, LIV is anticipated to announce an event in Australia. This will give him more time to spend with his family. He declared, quote, "I can't wait to return to that period of my life," end quote. Do you think Cameron Smith made the right decision by joining LIV Golf? I mean, apart from being with his family, and also, why hasn't the PGA Tour announced any tours in Australia? In an interview, Smith said his choice to join LIV, which is believed to have cost $140 million, kept him up at night. On the day he won the Open, Smith admitted, quote, "I was leaning one way, but it wasn't signed on paper. It seemed like I hadn't slept for a few months because there was still so much to do and consider. What will people think?" End quote. "It was a persistent thought in my mind. Quote, that was a really important aspect for me. I follow the rules well, so walking away from anything was difficult," end quote. "The PGA Tour is a fantastic place for me. The tour is fantastic and does wonderful things. But when you think about it, Adam Scott has been among the top golfers in the world for 20 years, so strangely, the PGA Tour isn't hosting an event in Australia because of him." Then there's Jason Day, Mark Leishman, and a slew of other folks for whom they could have done so much. Quote, "The Australian crowd is well familiar with it," end quote. "The rationale is that I don't believe it's profitable for them." Smith claims that despite his choice to join LIV, he was cautious not to let it impair his performance on the golf field. Smith emphasized that it was stressful. Quote, "In the previous few months, I've spent more time in offices and boardrooms than on the golf course. My number one aim is to get the ball in the hole in as few strokes as possible," end quote. "I told my agent, if this becomes too much, we'll have to consider alternative options. Above all, we're all competitors trying to beat the S out of each other," end quote, said the Australian. "When we're off the golf course, there's a different vibe with LIV golfers, but when we're on the golf course, we simply want to win. It makes no difference what the prize money is." He also said winning is what gets golfers going as competitors. According to Smith, winning the Masters at Augusta is at the top of his list of future goals in the game. But the Masters is the one he wants to win. "One thing I know is that I'm still really hungry. There have been many people who have made statements this year, particularly in the last several months. All I have to do now is prove them all wrong," end quote. After joining LIV Golf, Cameron Smith came close to winning his first LIV Golf event, but he still earned over $1 million for his work in Boston, with 2 holes remaining. Australia's world number 2 shared the lead but misfired on his tee shot, incurring his first expensive bogey of the day. At the LIV's first team tournament in Miami, Smith's all-Aussie team, which also comprised of Leishman, Matt Jones, and Wade Ormsby, came in second, thanks to his 65 in the final round. Punch GC members received $2 million in all. In addition, he told the Daily Mail that while he could see LIV eventually succeeding financially, it may take 10 years before it finally sees a return on its initial investment. After joining PGA Tour rival LIV Golf after the Tour Championship at the beginning of September, Cameron Smith dropped to number 3 in the official World Golf ranking. And with that, we've come to the end of this video. Cameron Smith and Rory McIlroy dominated much of the year in 2022, along with PGA Tour Player of the Year Scottie Scheffler. Can Smith maintain his high momentum now that he's joined LIV Golf?